everyone, and welcome to another A to Z in videography, and we are on the letter D, which is all about depth of field. Now, depth of field is commonly described as the visual effect that gives you a person in focus in the foreground, and in the background everything is blurred. Now, I could physically demonstrate this. So because of this lens I've got, I am going to come right up, and you see I've come all blurry now, and I'm going to hit autofocus here, and look, I'm kind of in focus now, and the background behind me is all blurred out. And that means I've got a strong depth of field due to being this close to the camera, as well as then the lenses that I've got. There's all kinds of different ways that you can play around with the likes of depth of field. Sorry, I'm just going to refocus that as I move away again, because I don't want you to be that close to my face all the time. And yes, so depth of field is a great creative technique, and it really is a perfect way of getting your viewers focus in the right place. Now, you could be having an interview with someone or a talk with someone, and you've got lots of walkers by behind you. Now, realistically, you don't want to be able to see those people walking behind you. So you would put everyone in the foreground in focus, and then try and get as much in the background out of focus so that your viewers can be focused on the people that are talking. Now, depth of field is not necessarily having the foreground people in focus and the background out of focus. It is just generally the amount of space that you've got between the two, and then the power of your lens then allows you whether or not you can have that mismatch focus, as it were. And it's actually really good for a very highly used film technique called rack focus, which is where you are in focus to one thing and then you move focus to the other thing to divert the viewer's attention from one to the other. Now, you'll see this is commonly used on conversations between people that are slightly further apart. So one person might be talking, so they're in focus, and then it then focuses on the other person as their reaction happens, or they then reply to that person. Another really great way of a rack focus is used within marketing to pull your focus in to the end product. For example, you might have a scene going on at the front, and actually the result in that marketing video is the product that's been behind the whole time, and they then change your focus and you are then focused into that product. So depth of field is so important to think about and see how you could then use it in different types of videos. So I'd make sure that if you've got a videographer coming along, or like double check their work to see if they've utilised the depth of field aspect. It's not always necessarily needed, because you might be wanting to show off a huge bedroom in a hotel, for example, and you don't want just the bed frame to be in focus and nothing else as it pans around the room. You want the whole thing in focus. So having a strong depth of field is good for certain things, but having a strong depth of field for other shoots isn't necessary, especially if you want to get that beautiful view of a castle, for example. You want everything in focus, and landscape photography is really vital to have everything in focus as well. So depth of field is a great technique to use when you want to specifically target a thing in your video, but not when you want everything to be the main focus of the video. Also, don't forget the different types of lenses that you use will achieve a different depth of field dependent on its aperture capabilities, which is otherwise known as the f-stop. So the lower the f-stop, then the larger the depth of field, or the higher the aperture, as they call it. But yeah, the depth of field it can be very varied on different lenses, which is why I mentioned about the difference of landscape and item photography. Is you may want to use different lenses to achieve different things. It's not always just about the distance of people in the frame. It is about the capabilities of the camera and the lens. So yeah, that is depth of field, and it's a great technique to use. You may see it in a couple of my videos as we go along on different social media as well. So yeah, that is the letter D of the A to Z of videography, and I will see you on the next letter, which is E.